They say home is where the heart is. But what if the very walls you built with love become the prison of your betrayal? The day I found out my name had been removed from the deed of the house I helped build from the ground up, it felt like someone had reached into my chest and yanked my heart out. My fingers trembled as I held the official-looking envelope, the paper so crisp and clean, so sterile, while my entire life, everything I thought I knew, rotted beneath it. It was my husband's signature. His pen. His betrayal. I'm Vanessa Carter, 32 years old, real estate consultant by training, homemaker by sacrifice, and the kind of wife who believes in love so fiercely, she'll burn down her own dreams just to keep her partner warm. I gave up everything for Aaron, my booming career, my father's inheritance, my peace. And in return he handed me a betrayal so cruel, it knocked the air from my lungs. The house had been our dream, or so I thought. We spent months picking tiles, arguing over light fixtures, painting the baby room even before we had a baby to put in it. I poured every dime I had left from my late father's estate into that foundation. When the final brick was laid, I remember looking at Aaron with tears in my eyes and saying, "This house is us." But it wasn't. Not to him. To Aaron it was just bricks and leverage. An asset. Something he could control, twist, and eventually weaponize. It started small, as most betrayals do. Subtle lies about paperwork, excuses about delays in joint account setups, an odd hesitation whenever I asked about the mortgage. I chalked it up to stress. Everyone said building a house together could strain a marriage. But deep down I knew. I just wasn't ready to face it. Until I opened that envelope. At first I was sure there had been a mistake. Maybe the lawyer forgot to include my name. Maybe there had been a filing error. Maybe, just maybe, this wasn't happening. But denial crumbles fast when the truth stares you in the face, signed in your husband's unmistakable cursive. I confronted him, of course. Sat on the edge of our custom Italian leather couch, the one I sold my father's antique desk to afford, and waited for him to come home. My hands were cold. My mind spinning. I imagined him walking in and breaking down, apologizing, saying it was a mistake, that he never meant to hurt me. Instead, he looked at me with a calmness that chilled my bones and said, "Don't overreact, Vanessa. It's just paperwork. Just paperwork. Just paperwork," when I had given him my whole life. I didn't cry, not then. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I felt something darker stir inside me. Something older. My mother's voice echoed in my mind from years ago, warning me, "Never let a man hold the roof over your head as leverage. Build your own or sleep under the stars, but never be at the mercy of anyone." And suddenly I realized, I had forgotten who I was. The woman my father raised to be proud, prepared, and powerful. The girl who built spreadsheets for fun. The woman who once negotiated a multi-million-dollar land deal while sipping tea on a Zoom call. I had let Aaron turn me into a ghost in my own home. But ghosts learn to haunt. What Aaron didn't know was that I'd started recording our conversations weeks ago, ever since I noticed his subtle shifts, the password changes, the late-night calls, the mysterious transactions. I had installed a discreet camera near the home office, positioned perfectly to catch anything suspicious. And what I caught was the beginning of his unraveling. Because Aaron wasn't just erasing me from the deed. He was planning something bigger. Something that would have left me penniless, broken, and homeless. But if he thought I was going to watch my world fall apart without a fight, he had no idea who he married. I didn't tear up the deed. I didn't pack my bags. I dug in. Quietly. Strategically. And I began to prepare the revenge of a lifetime. One that wouldn't just expose him but destroy the illusion he built around us. Because he didn't just mess with a woman. He messed with a woman who knew exactly how to fight back. With evidence, with strategy, and with patience. And it all started with the footage I captured on that quiet Tuesday night, when he thought I was asleep upstairs. The footage started with a whisper. Aaron, on the phone, pacing our kitchen like a man plotting the perfect crime. He didn't know I had repositioned the camera in the ceiling vent. Silent, hidden, always watching. I remember that night like a scar. I'd pretended to go to bed early, told him I had a migraine. He kissed my forehead with fake concern and even brought me tea, spiked, I later realized, with a mild sleeping pill. Except I never drank it. I flushed it and waited. He thought I was knocked out cold upstairs, unaware of the betrayal brewing just beneath me. But I wasn't. He dialed a number I didn't recognize and spoke in hushed, urgent tones. Yeah, it's done. Her name's off everything, deed, will, joint accounts. She doesn't suspect a thing. My blood ran cold. Once I move the rest of the funds, she won't have a leg to stand on. No assets, no claim. If she fights back, it'll cost her more than she can afford. She'll fold. They always do. How many had there been? Was I just another name on his list? I pressed pause on the footage, hands shaking. My heart pounded so loudly I thought it might drown out my thoughts. But I forced myself to keep watching. Don't worry, he said to whoever was on the other end. She's soft. Naive. Still believes in love and honesty. It's laughable. I wanted to scream. To storm downstairs and demand answers. But I didn't. Because now I had proof. And proof was power. Instead, I quietly began preparing my next move. First, I copied the footage. Multiple versions, encrypted files, cloud backups, even a USB I mailed to my sister with strict instructions. If anything happens to me, open this. I wasn't taking chances. Then I reached out to an old friend, Kylie. We'd worked together in real estate back when I was still Vanessa the Shark, before I became Vanessa the Wife. She had transitioned into real estate law and owed me a favor. When I told her what was happening, she didn't ask questions. She just said, "Meet me tomorrow. Bring everything." That night, I laid beside Aaron in bed, pretending to sleep, listening to the steady rhythm of a man who thought he'd won. He kissed my shoulder in the dark. I had to bite my lip to keep from recoiling. The next morning, I smiled through breakfast, wore my favorite blue dress, the one he said made me look like a woman who doesn't need anyone, and told him I had errands to run. He kissed me goodbye and reminded me to pick up milk. As if my entire life wasn't unraveling. When I met Kylie, she didn't waste time. "This is bad, Ness," she said, scanning the footage. "He's not just stealing your house. He's setting you up for a clean-out. If he's moved money already, you could lose everything." I nodded. "But I'm not letting that happen." Kylie leaned forward, fire in her eyes. "Good. Because if you're ready to fight, I can help you win." Together we built a plan. First, freeze what we could. I had enough authority on one of our joint accounts to lock it down temporarily. Then we started tracing the money trail. Kylie's firm had a forensic accountant who loved a challenge. What we found was horrifying. Aaron had opened a separate LLC 6 months ago, using a fake business name, one that funneled money out of our accounts under the guise of home improvement expenses. And the worst part? He'd used my signature, forged expertly. This wasn't carelessness. It was premeditated theft. And he didn't stop at finances. That night, I noticed something new on his laptop when he left it open. A file named Divorce Plan and Confidential. When I clicked it, a document popped up. A step-by-step breakdown of how he planned to present me as emotionally unstable, financially irresponsible, and incapable of maintaining the home. "He's going to try and get full control of the house and assets," I told Kylie later. "Claim I'm unfit and maybe even try to gaslight me into a settlement." She leaned back, cracking her knuckles. "He has no idea who he's messing with." Neither did I, until that moment. I was done being the woman who hoped love could fix things. I was going to be the woman who made sure betrayal was punished. And so the game began. I started playing my part to perfection. Sweet, clueless Vanessa. I cooked him dinner, laughed at his jokes, acted the doting wife. He didn't notice the glint in my eye as I handed him his wine, or the way I subtly changed our home security settings every few days to record different areas. He had no idea I was already building my legal case, one piece at a time. He thought he was a master manipulator. But I was a woman pushed too far. A woman who once sold homes worth millions was now learning how to take one back, brick by brick, lie by lie. Because I wasn't just going to survive. I was going to bury him with his own blueprints. And the first nail in his coffin was just about to be hammered. By the end of that week, I had become two women. The wife Aaron thought he had conquered, and the woman he would soon regret ever crossing. I knew I couldn't confront him, not yet. Not without everything in place. So instead I watched. Waited. Collected every whispered call, Every sleazy document he thought was tucked away in private folders, every careless slip of arrogance he made in the home we built together. The hardest part, sleeping next to him knowing he was plotting to throw me out of my own house, like I was some stray dog who overstayed her welcome. But karma was coming, and I was delivering it gift-wrapped. With Kylie's help, we got a court order to freeze the remaining joint assets before he could touch them. It bought me time. And with every day that passed, my arsenal grew. Then came the unexpected call. "Mrs. Chandler?" the woman on the phone said. "This is Officer Delgado from the precinct downtown. I'm calling regarding a complaint filed under your name, about an altercation at your property." I froze. "I'm sorry, what?" She explained that earlier that morning, Aaron had gone to the police claiming I had become volatile. Said I threatened him with violence. That he was seeking a protective order. A protective order. Against me. I nearly dropped the phone. "He said he has video footage," the officer continued, "and requested you be removed from the property until things calmed down. He was trying to flip the narrative before I could act." I held my breath. "I'd like to speak with a lawyer before answering any more questions." She agreed, and that's when I called Kylie in tears. I told her everything. Her voice, usually calm, was shaking with fury. "He's setting the stage to kick you out," she said. "If that protective order goes through, he'll change the locks while you're gone. You won't be able to get back in." Panic crept in. I could see it clearly now. Aaron had done this before. Maybe not to a wife, but to someone. This wasn't the kind of move you improvise. This was rehearsed. He was going to take my home, my money, and if he could, smear my name on the way out. Kylie wasn't having it. "We're filing an emergency injunction first thing tomorrow. And Vanessa? It's time to go public." I blinked. "Public?" She nodded. "Social media. Blogs. Reddit. Whatever. We leak just enough of the truth anonymously at first so that when the court sees his claims, they also see your receipts." I hesitated. That wasn't my style. But I realized then, Aaron was counting on me to have a style. A line I wouldn't cross. Well, the line had vanished the day he started practicing my signature. I uploaded a 3-minute video under an anonymous account, a faceless narrator explaining how a woman's husband secretly forged documents, transferred funds, and began laying the groundwork to evict her from her own home. I blurred the footage but left Aaron's voice intact. I didn't name names, but people recognized him. Within 24 hours the post was trending. Comments poured in. Former co-workers of his chimed in, claiming they'd seen shady financial behavior at his old firm. One even said he was fired over irregularities, something he'd conveniently never told me. He was losing control of the narrative. And I wasn't done. The next morning when he tried to serve me with the bogus protective order, I was ready, with my own court documents in hand, a formal response from Kylie's firm, and a request for a restraining order against him. The judge, a stern woman in her 60s, narrowed her eyes as Aaron presented his case. She listened to his dramatic account, the faked aggression, his trembling voice. Then she turned to us. "Miss Chandler, your counsel has submitted digital evidence, including audio recordings, account transfer logs, and documentation of forged signatures. Is this correct?" "Yes, Your Honor," I said, voice steady. "And we have additional files pending investigation, as well as a witness from the bank verifying irregular activities tied to the respondent." Aaron's face paled. The judge didn't waste time. This court sees no grounds for a protective order against the petitioner. However, based on preliminary evidence, the court is issuing a temporary injunction in favor of Ms. Chandler, granting her sole access to the property until the fraud investigation concludes. Just like that, he was the one ordered to leave. As Aaron stormed out of the courtroom, face twisted in fury, I felt a sense of power I hadn't felt in years. But it wasn't over. Later that evening, I found him sitting in his car outside our house. Windows down. Engine idling. Waiting. I stepped onto the porch with my phone recording. "You're violating a court order," I said calmly. He smirked. "You think this is over? You think you've won?" I held up the phone. "I don't think. I know." He peeled off down the street, tires squealing like a man losing control of everything he once owned. And inside, I poured a glass of wine, turned on the security cameras and waited. Because what came next would be the end of the game. The next morning I woke up to chaos. My phone buzzed nonstop. Texts, missed calls, notifications stacked so high they crashed the app. I blinked at the screen and saw the headline, "Finance exec caught in viral scandal. Wife claims fraud, forgery and secret second family." Second family? I bolted upright. Buried in the Reddit comments overnight, someone had dropped a bombshell. A woman named Tracy from Chicago had messaged anonymously claiming she'd been dating Aaron for 3 years, and had a toddler who called him daddy. She even uploaded blurred photos. Aaron at a pumpkin patch, Aaron with a baby girl on his lap, Aaron kissing her on the cheek. The timestamps? They overlapped with my pregnancies, my hospital stays, our anniversary trips. I felt the oxygen leave my lungs. It wasn't just fraud. It wasn't just greed. He had been living a double life. I sent the screenshots to Kylie, hands trembling. She replied within seconds. "Kylie, I just got off the phone with a PI. He's been funneling money to someone in Illinois for over 2 years. There's an account under a woman's name, Tracy Owens. This might be her." My head spun. I stared at our wedding photos on the wall, the matching silver frames we picked out together. The life we curated. All wise. That night I did something I hadn't done in years. I called my sister Mel. We hadn't spoken since my wedding. She'd always hated Aaron. Called him a snake in a suit. And I, so blindly loyal, had pushed her away. When she picked up, her voice cracked with surprise. "Vanessa." I couldn't even speak. Just sobbed. And she came over within the hour with Chinese takeout ice cream, and the same oversized blanket we used as kids when the world felt like it was falling apart. After catching her up, she said, "You don't just destroy a man like Aaron in court. You ruin his foundation. You make sure when he falls he stays down." He was right. We didn't just have one angle now, we had 3. 1. Financial fraud and embezzlement. 2. Forgery and document manipulation. 3. Adultery and an undisclosed second household siphoning marital funds. Kylie reached out to Tracy. To everyone's shock, Tracy had no idea Aaron was married. He told her he was divorced. Said he lost custody of a child due to a vindictive ex. He used me as his villain. Tracy was devastated and furious. "I want in," she told Kylie. "Whatever you're doing, I'll testify." He told me he loved me. That we were going to move to Texas next year. He even said I should quit my job and rely on him. He was trying to build a life with her, using my money. The next few days were a flurry of legal filings, press inquiries and financial audits. But behind the scenes, something more satisfying was happening. Aaron's carefully polished image began to crumble. His former law firm released a quiet statement confirming a previous internal review regarding ethical concerns. His current employer put him on indefinite leave pending the investigation. And Tracy? She made her own post. A tearful video now viral warning women about financial predators hiding behind suits and trust funds. She never named Aaron, but everyone connected the dots. The public was eating it up. He was radioactive. And still he tried to fight back. A week later, I got a cease and desist letter from a shady legal firm, accusing me of defamation and intentional interference with personal reputation. Kylie laughed when she read it. "This is panic paper. He knows he's losing and this is his tantrum." We didn't stop. We pulled every bank statement, traced every transaction, and located every offshore account he thought was buried. And then came the crowning piece. A copy of my signature forged on a notarized asset transfer to a shell company. We had the handwriting analysis. We had the notary on video saying they never met me. Game over. When we walked into court 2 weeks later, the courtroom buzzed like a hive. Reporters outside. Onlookers inside. Even the judge looked tense. She had seen the headlines. Aaron showed up gaunt, pale, his once sharp suit now wrinkled and ill-fitted. He avoided my eyes. I, on the other hand, walked in with Kylie on one side, Mel on the other, and Tracy sitting directly behind me. He was outnumbered and outclassed. As Kylie laid out the timeline, I watched Aaron crumble inch by inch. When Tracy took the stand, he actually winced. Her quiet voice told the truth like a dagger. The lies he fed her, the child he fathered, the money he promised, and the betrayal she uncovered. By the end of it, even his own lawyer looked embarrassed. The judge issued a preliminary ruling immediately. Full control of all marital assets transferred to me. Emergency protective order placed on Aaron. Court recommendation for criminal investigation into fraud, forgery, and financial misconduct. Aaron didn't even argue. He just sat there slack-jawed. As we walked out, a reporter called after me. Vanessa, any comments for women watching this unfold? I paused, then looked straight at the camera. Never let anyone make you feel like you're crazy for asking questions. Sometimes your intuition is just your soul screaming the truth. We got in the car, closed the door, and I exhaled for the first time in months. But the final blow? That was still coming. Because what Aaron didn't know was that the IRS had also taken interest, and they were about to freeze his secret accounts. All of them. A week after the court hearing, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Is this Vanessa Green? Yes, I said cautiously. This is Agent Laura Kim with the Internal Revenue Service's Criminal Investigation Division. We've been reviewing suspicious transactions involving Mr. Aaron Green. I believe you've filed civil complaints against him. My stomach dropped, but not with fear, with vindication. Yes. I submitted evidence of fraud, asset concealment, and forgery. I have full documentation through my attorney. We received your file. Thank you for being thorough. Agent Kim's voice was clipped, businesslike, but I could feel the undercurrent of something else. Satisfaction. Anticipation. We'll be issuing a formal subpoena for his financial records, and we've frozen 5 offshore accounts so far. 3 in the Cayman Islands, 1 in Belize, 1 in Malta. If any of those accounts contain marital funds, you'll be eligible for restitution. 5 offshore accounts. The audacity. Aaron wasn't just sneaky, he was pathological. The next morning Tracy called me. She'd been contacted by the IRS too. Apparently, Aaron had used her social security number to open one of those accounts, without her consent. He said it was just a trust fund, she whispered, voice shaking. He told me he was securing our daughter's future. He'd stolen his mistress's identity to launder money. Unreal. But even more damning was what Kylie uncovered next. She'd hired a cybersecurity expert to comb through Aaron's cloud backups, and they recovered deleted documents, emails, and receipts from burner phones he used. One email in particular stood out. It was from Aaron to a lawyer in Nevada. She's not smart enough to catch it. She still thinks I'm setting up a college fund. Once the signatures are in, move everything to Green Holdings LLC under my father's name. If she finds out, I'll just file for custody. She won't survive that battle. My hands shook as I read it. He planned to steal everything. He counted on me being too tired, too overwhelmed, too trusting. And when he couldn't gaslight me into silence, he planned to take our son as leverage. This wasn't just betrayal. This was warfare. Mel was the one who said it first. This isn't just about revenge anymore, V. This is about protecting other women from men like him. So we took it public. With the help of a journalist from a major digital media outlet, one who specialized in financial abuse and marital fraud, we gave an exclusive interview. We laid out the timeline, showed the forged papers, and blurred out Tracy's daughter for privacy. But everything else? We exposed it all. The story went viral in hours. Man leads double life, steals millions from wife, impregnates mistress, forgets about IRS. The comments section exploded. Women shared their stories. Attorneys offered pro bono services to others in similar situations. A podcast requested to feature us in a series about high-level marital cons. Suddenly, I wasn't just a victim. I was a voice. But Aaron? His world collapsed like a house of matchsticks in a storm. His accounts were frozen. His assets seized. His employer formally terminated him and revoked his bonus from the last fiscal year. The Legal Bar Association began disbarment proceedings. He lost everything, except his arrogance. He showed up at my doorstep 2 nights later. Sweaty. Disheveled. Eyes bloodshot. I need to talk to you, he said, voice hoarse. You're ruining my life, Vanessa. I didn't even open the door fully. You ruined your life. I just lit a match under the truth. You can't do this. I'm still his father. You're going to make him hate me. I looked him dead in the eyes. No. You did that the day you chose money, lies, and betrayal over being a father. He looked like he wanted to cry. Good. Before he could say another word, Mel stepped into view behind me, phone in hand. "Unless you want a restraining order to go viral, I suggest you leave." He staggered back like we'd hit him. Then he turned and walked down the driveway, into a beat-up rental car with duct tape on the rearview mirror. He wasn't even allowed to use the Tesla anymore. I closed the door and let out a breath that felt like it had been trapped in my chest for 3 years. That night, I lay beside my son as he slept, brushing his little curls off his forehead. I whispered, "You'll never grow up thinking your mom was weak." He stirred but didn't wake. I kissed his cheek. Then my phone buzzed again, an email notification. It was from Agent Kim. "Formal charges filed. Grand jury hearing in 2 weeks. Prepare for testimony." We were almost there. The war was nearly over. But one final victory still waited. One that would erase Aaron's control forever. And he had no idea what was coming next. The courthouse buzzed with press, lawyers and courtroom sketch artists the day Aaron's grand jury hearing began. He wore an ill-fitting gray suit, dark bags under his eyes, and a forced smirk like he still believed he could charm his way out of this. But the courtroom wasn't filled with clients or admirers anymore. It was filled with witnesses, victims, evidence. I sat quietly beside my lawyer as the prosecution began laying out their case. Fraud, money laundering, identity theft, forgery and perjury. Tracy testified first, trembling but resolute. She told the jury how Aaron convinced her to open accounts in her name without understanding what she was signing. She cried when she mentioned her daughter, how he swore the funds were for her education. The jurors' faces darkened. Then Kylie took the stand. She presented the emails, the deleted documents, the metadata logs showing that Aaron had premeditated every move for over 3 years. The courtroom gasped when she showed the forged document where he signed my name to surrender my rights to the trust. Aaron shifted uncomfortably. But it was my testimony that cracked everything wide open. I stood up, walked to the stand and looked straight at him as I began. I was a stay-at-home mother who gave up her career to raise our child while my husband built his. I trusted him. I loved him. And he used that trust as a weapon. I laid out how he manipulated me into signing legal forms while I was sick, how he isolated me from our accounts, how he moved money into shell companies without my knowledge. I pulled out the final bombshell, the recording. A conversation between Aaron and his father, captured by a legal wiretap Kylie helped obtain once the fraud case had legs. "If she ever finds out, I'll just take the kid and leave. She doesn't have the money or the guts to fight me." "You sure she'll stay quiet?" his father asked. "She's too soft. She'll cry, beg, maybe post some sad crap online, but she'll fold. They always do." The courtroom was silent. No one moved. No one breathed. I looked at Aaron, who was now pale and trembling. "You were wrong," I said softly. "I didn't fold. I fought." The prosecutor rested the case with a simple statement. Mr. Green didn't just betray his wife. He betrayed the law, his profession, and every ethical boundary he was sworn to uphold. The grand jury didn't take long. Formal indictment. Multiple felony charges. He was immediately taken into custody with no bail, flight risk. And I walked out of that courtroom taller than I'd ever been. Months later, I stood in front of a new house. One I bought with the restitution money recovered from Aaron's accounts, after taxes and legal fees. Tracy moved 3 blocks away with her daughter, and we became an unlikely sisterhood. She'd filed for full custody and was working on rebuilding her career. Kylie. She launched a consulting agency helping other women navigate hidden financial abuse. She booked a TEDx talk that went viral. As for Mel, she and I partnered on a nonprofit, Wife Not Weak. We held workshops, offered legal resources, and gave women across the country a voice. One afternoon, as I made lemonade on the porch while my son played in the yard, I got a call from my lawyer. "Hey, just wanted to let you know. The divorce is officially final. The judge signed everything. You own the house, full custody, and he has 0 visitation unless supervised by a court-appointed third party." I exhaled slowly. It was over. No more manipulation. No more fear. No more fake apologies. Later that week, I got a letter from Aaron from prison. It was handwritten. Rambling. Apologetic in that fake narcissistic way. "I still love you, Vanessa. I was under pressure. I was scared. You don't know what it's like to be a man in this world." I didn't even finish it. I tossed it into the fireplace and watched the flames devour it, just like they devoured the illusion of who I thought he was. My son ran into the house, dirt on his knees, joy on his face. Mom, I made a rocket ship with Max. Wanna see? Of course, baby. I walked outside and knelt beside him. The sun was warm. My heart was light. For the first time in years, I wasn't surviving, I was thriving. Aaron thought I would break. Instead, I became unbreakable. And to anyone who ever doubted me, I say this: never underestimate the woman who lost everything and still found the strength to rise. Because we don't just heal, we build empires from ashes. And if this story moved you, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. New stories drop daily, and trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next.